So Mark Bowman is the latest USC Trojan to add his name to a pretty loaded lineup of recruits in the 2026 cycle. He's probably one of the more exciting ones if you're a USC fan for a couple of reasons. Number one, the lineup of schools that we're going after Mark Bowman, understandably so, because he's one of the top 20 or 30 players in the entire class, regardless of position. And it depends on which service you look at. But again, this is one of the elite prospects and a guy who I think steps onto USC's campus, makes an impact right away. And USC had to beat out the likes of Oregon, Georgia, Ole Miss, and Alabama, amongst others. That's a pretty darn good list. And of course, Bowman was tweeting out about the Southern California movement, got to keep guys home, and we're keeping them here, keep the talent in USC, which has always been something people like myself have pointed out for several years since Lincoln Riley got there or when Clay Helton was there. You look around and go, wait a minute, you have more talent in a driving distance from your campus than a lot of schools have in their entire state. That is not an exaggeration. There are elite programs that don't have as much talent in their entire state as USC could reasonably drive to down in Los Angeles. This is a modern day kid. This is one of the premier high schools in all of I almost said in all of college football, because they're just churning out college prospects every single year. It's not one or two. It's a matter of how many, not are they going to have any each and every cycle. So Bowman reclassified from the class of 27 to 2026, and yeah, it's not going to matter a whole heck of a lot. He needs to put on some weight. I think that's pretty clear. 6'4" and a half, 225 pounds is what he's listed at the tight end position. The comparisons, when you get a guy who's as athletic as he is, go straight to Brock Bowers. When you check out his film, you understand why. He is way too twitchy to be as big as he is. And there are a lot of positions in college football that even for a really highly rated recruit or a five-star kid even, it's hard to make an impact at as a true freshman. Defensive line, offensive line, most notably among them. You look at, Caden Proctor at Alabama, for instance. He's going to start this year along the offensive line. Played as a true freshman. He was okay. Now he's going to be really good. And I bet you he works his way into being an early round NFL draft pick. But stepping onto the field as an offensive or defensive lineman or as a quarterback, incredibly challenging. And expectations, I think, should always be tempered. Tight end is not one of those positions. Receiver is not one of those positions. Running back is kind of hit and miss. But tight end is one of those spots where you go out and get somebody, and if he's got the hype for a reason, he can step on your campus, make an impact right away. So this doesn't just, further solidify USC's number one ranked recruiting class, which, lost Xavier Griffin, a five-star linebacker, not long ago. And oh my gosh, the world is ending. Here we go with the five-star decommitments. And they just go right back and, drive down the street and say, hey, Mark, why don't you come and be a USC Trojan? Yeah, it turns out that's a pretty good strategy for Lincoln Riley and company. So the comparisons to Brock Bowers are incredibly valid for this guy. Incredibly valid, because someone who is that big, he'll need to put on, 20, 30 pounds or so. That shouldn't be a problem by the time he gets on campus or by the time he at least plays his first full season as a Trojan. He shouldn't be able to move the way that he does. And what I think this makes this fit really interesting schematically is the way that Lincoln Riley uses the RPO game. He can be a force. Now, that's not the only thing he's going to be able to do. It's just that when you line somebody up at kind of that H-back slot and run that split zone and, with the Y option in the flat, if he's that guy, he's not just taking it and going for 5 yards. He can make a defensive back miss, and then he can accelerate. Or you can do that and he can turn it into a big play. Or you push the ball down the field to him and you realize, oh, he's got receiver skills. He's got receiver speed. The thing that impresses me the most about him is the agility in the route running. When he gets to the top of routes and gives a defensive back a little wiggle or a shake, it's not your typical tight end wiggle or shake. Is he going to body guys? Is he going to, box him out Jimmy Graham style? I'm sure he could if he wanted to. I think he's probably just going to run away from them. So this is a huge, huge get for USC. in the class of 2026. It's a phenomenal way to respond after you lose a 5-star recruit, who I will definitely be talking about at some point on the show when he commits, I believe sometime in this very month of June. We're into recruiting hotbed season. And I tell you what, I hear all the time, well, kids are just going to flip. Oh, how many of these guys are actually staying? Most of them are going to stay. And then, yes, because of the addition of the transfer portal to the college football world, you have to kind of filter through and figure out, okay, which of these guys are actually going to be high impact players? How many have an ability to contribute right away? Mark Bowman is one of those guys. So rarely do you have someone that has an off the field impact as big as an impact as, I'm going to try that again because sometimes English is hard and my brain freezes. Sometimes guys are going to have a bigger impact on the field than off the field. Sometimes guys end up having a bigger impact off the field than on the field when it comes to recruiting. And sometimes, Goldilocks, you get it just right and you wind up getting both. Mark Bowman is both. This is a statement, once again, for USC that they want to dominate the Southern California area, a place where Alabama's coming in and gotten players before, like Bryce Young, who was a modern day guy back in the day. Or Oregon has come down and gotten guys like Kayvon Thibodeau or Mateo Uiagalelei from Southern California. And Mark Bowman going out there and saying, we want to put a fence around Southern California. It's easier said than done. You're still going to have schools come in and try to pull kids out of there. But make no mistake about it, the biggest change for USC and why they are recruiting the way they were always capable of in the class of 2026 is they just went and realized, okay, let's start in our own footprint and let's make it happen. Let's go and let's keep these kids here. And then once the rankings rise and the brand starts to come back, then we branch out a little bit more. But the amount of talent in Southern California can never be overstated. Ever. California, Florida, Texas, in no particular order, are the best 3 recruiting states for talent in the country. Georgia's very high on that list as well. I don't think they have quite the volume, but certainly you get a really high caliber recruit that comes out of the state of Georgia down south. But Texas and California and Florida, USC's always been one of the best jobs in college football once you got everything right administratively behind the scenes. It certainly seems like they have done that down there in Los Angeles. And this just goes to show you, when you talk about a place like Florida, for instance, with Billy Napier, it's one of the 5 best jobs in all of college football. Why? Because of how much talent is close to home. Some kids want to go across the country, want a new experience, want to get out and see a different school. Okay. You know what a lot of kids would like to do? You mean my parents can just like drive to the home football games? Yeah, that's a pretty appealing thing. So props to USC for going out and landing Mark Bowman because he's a big-time recruit. He's going to be a big-time player, and they just keep their momentum going. And they hit a little bump in the road, and all of a sudden they realized, wait, we don't need new shocks. We don't need new struts. We just need to keep driving and realize it'll continue to smooth itself out. So USC, hot on the recruiting trail again. Appreciate everyone listening. I will see you next time. And until then, hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.